Hi, how are you today?
Hi, Megan. How's it going? Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
My pleasure. I was excited to talk about this movie.
Well, and your book. This is where it all started. So take me back to the very beginning, the whole when you first thought about making this into a book. At any point did you say this could be a movie, or it was always just I just need to get these words out of my head?
I mean, to me, it was more, yeah, it was more about telling this story and about the idea of, um, Uglies starts with one friend graduating and leaving another. And when I was in high school, I had a bunch of friends who were seniors, and they sort of graduated without me, and I found myself suddenly alone. And that's sort of what happens to Tally at the beginning of Uglies. And getting like the emotional reality of that and then wrapping something more science fictional around it was what was important to me more than, I mean, I guess at some point I might have fantasized about it being a movie, but that was just a fantasy.
As an author, when you see your work come to life, is it hard to kind of step back and be like, okay, it's now in somebody else's hands? Or for you, were you very much involved with it's got to be this way, or this is how, Tally would have played this scene? Or did you just say, nope, this is theirs now?
To me, there's some things that are important and some things that aren't. Like I'm not worried as a lot about costumes, and I thought the production people, like the people doing the sets, did such an amazing job and thought of a lot of stuff that I didn't think of, like the way the smoke looks is amazing, the grass on the roof, so that's sort of camouflage, but also really ecologically sensible to like cover
Mm-hmm.
your roofs and sod, and it looks amazing and it looks cool. Um, to me, the important things were not to go down the most obvious routes. Like, you know, Uglies is about a dystopia, but it's not one of those dystopias where they punch you in the face every day. It's not about guys with machine guns and black helmets and stormtrooper boots. It's it's the dystopia that brings you in, that makes you oppress yourself. It brings you in with the promise that one day you'll have an awesome job and be great and that you'll be beautiful and everything's great. And that is, and that to me is much more pernicious. So, the important part to me was that they didn't make it look like every other dystopia, that it's not about the jackboot, but about the velvet glove that controls you.
Well, I think what's great about not only the book, but about this movie is, yes, you wrote it all the way back and it came out in 2005, but it's held up with time and scarily it's gotten closer to accurate with being able to pick things and have us look a certain way. And so I had read an interview that you had did a couple of years ago where you mentioned that, where you were like, we're getting so much closer. So how do you feel about this movie coming out now and how AI and all of that has come into fruition and is now a real thing?
I mean, when I wrote the book, it was mostly about plastic surgery and making choices about how you look in that sense. But now we all do some cosmetic surgery on ourselves every day, whether it's, face tuning or putting a little bit of blur on your face, or even when I was like getting ready for this interview, I was like, well, maybe I could just do, a little bit of smoothing. And and I was like, this is part of all of our everyday experience that we choose how to show ourselves and how to present ourselves in these online worlds. And it's not just your face, it's your whole life that you try to make pretty. Like you get rid of all the embarrassing parts of your life, or the boring parts, and it's just my latte I got today, and how awesome is that? And I think that everyone does this kind of like that's kind of a kind of surgery too, which is
Mhm.
cutting out all the parts of life that you don't want to show and just showing this sort of wonderland of forced smiles.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I am super excited for everyone to see the movie.
Great, thank you so much.